Hi, this is Sean from Ace Appliance in Toledo, Ohio. Welcome back to another in-home diagnostic video brought to you by ApplianceVideo.com. Okay, we have a GE gas range. Complaint is that it won't heat in the oven. The burners worked fine. So what we're going to do is we're going to access the oven. When I get to the burner assembly, the way I like to do it is just take everything out of the inside of the oven and go straight down. So we're going to start with that. Alright, the tools we'll need to complete this repair, we'll use a AC voltage sensor, my wire strippers, and my drill with a 1/4 inch bit in it. Naturally stops and then lifts straight off. Pull it right off the hinges. Now we have that out. Now we can remove our oven racks. And now we have our bottom plate here in the oven. You do have a couple of thumb screws back here. I'm taking out, that's one. Sometimes they won't come out with just your fingers, that you'll have to use. They're slotted for a flathead screwdriver. So now we got that out, we can go ahead and remove this. It's going to lift up from the back and then slide straight back. And then it will come out. And now we have our burner. Okay, so now we have our Venturi tube with our igniter here. There's wires at the rear right here. And with my AC voltage tester, I just put this back here right now. And I'm just checking to make sure that the computer doesn't have a stuck relay and is constantly sending power to the igniter, which could have burned it out. So there's no power to it there. So I'm going to go ahead and turn the oven on, and then I'm going to do the same thing and make sure that the computer is sending power through to the igniter. So we got that on. So now I know I have power going to that. And now we're going to just watch this and see if the igniter is totally bad to where it doesn't come on, or just to see if possibly it's weak, or even though it glows, comes on and glows, it doesn't glow hot enough to open up the gas valve. So we'll give it here a few seconds. I'm not seeing any sort of anything coming on with the igniter, so it appears at this point our igniter is just broken, and that's why it's not glowing in that new fashion. So we already verified we do have power voltage going to it once we turn the control on. So we're going to go ahead and get an estimate together for a new bake igniter. So we're going to go ahead and replace that igniter. And what we'll do here, there's one screw right here at the front of this burner, Venturi tube. We're going to go ahead and just remove that. And now we're going to have to proceed and take the drawer out to get to the remaining screws and to the wiring. So we're going to go ahead and get down here and get to the wiring and the other screws. Alright, so now that we got those screws out, now we can actually pull the tube out through the oven. So I'm just going to grab the tube, the wiring is going to come out with it. So that's what we have here. Now we can work with it in front of us. Okay, so we want to take our igniter off of our burner tube here. So it's held in place with 2 screws. We'll see if we get lucky. Sometimes the threads on these screws will kind of, because of the heat, disappear. So we got lucky. Now we have our igniter separate. So I'm going to set my burner tube to the side. If we look at our replacement igniter, which it's the same here as far as the igniter part, but the wiring is different. So we're going to cut this off and cut the wires off here and splice them together so that way we have the right wire set up. So that's what I'm going to do now. And I'm just going to go ahead and cut these. Now this is our old igniter, it's garbage. And then cut off that plug that we can't use. I'm going to strip back the wires. wires that we're going to reuse. Alright, so now we have everything stripped up. It doesn't matter which wire goes where because it's just going to complete a circuit. So I have one of the old wires with one of our new wires on our igniter. I'm going to go ahead and use one of the supplied wire nuts. Now they have here that's a ceramic or porcelain wire nut. It's not biting. And the reason you want to use that rather than the plastic is because of the heat. The plastic could melt, exposing the metal and causing a short or something to become damaged. So we use these won't melt. So there's the first one done. So we got both of our wire nuts on there. Now we want to remount this to our tube, so I'll grab my tube again. And I'm going to go ahead and screw it back down. Alright, so now our igniter is secured to our tube. I'm going to feed it back through, and when I feed it through I got to feed the wires through there, and there's also the hole here at the bottom of our tube that we have to make sure underneath that it goes around our gas valve goes inside of there. So that way when it does, the igniter works, the gas goes up through the tube, not missing the tube and going up and pooling underneath the range. So we're going to go ahead and get that into position now. Alright, so I'm going to just feed our wires down. So everything's through the hole. Now I got to go underneath to get to the wires and pull everything through. Okay, so we've already mounted with the two screws that we removed on our burner tube, hooked up our wiring. We made sure that the valve is lined up in our burner tube. Put the drawer back in as well. So now we're into this finally securing our burner tube, the one screw that we removed. Alright, and at this point here, while it's still disassembled, I'm going to go ahead and turn the range on, make sure that it's going to fire up before I put the rest of the oven back together. So I'll go ahead and turn it on. So obviously you can see it's glowing already. In a few more seconds we should have a flame. And there we go. I'm going to go ahead and turn it off. That way I can reassemble the rest of the oven. Okay, now that we verified that everything is going to work, we can go ahead and put our bottom plate here in the oven. We're going to reinstall our two screws that we took out. Oven racks. And then reinstall our door. And there we go. Thank you for watching another quality in-home diagnostic video brought to you by ApplianceVideo.com.